Morning we put the first video in the public space. It's 9 o'clock now. A back and forth with dueling releases from the Ministry of National Security who claimed responsibility. If Keith Rowley really thought that last week Wednesday was a tough day, he in for a rude surprise. Tough days now starting. We here with you tonight. We need you to share this live video. It's very important. I don't really harass you to share live videos because we get massive numbers because the page we have massive. But that page under constant assault. These people doing all kind of nasty slackness. Blocking the media, you become a giant on social media. They want to come and mash that up too. So we building alternate pages. And the Philip Edward Alexander page, that page that this live video is on, please, go to the page itself. It's called the Philip Edward Alexander page. Click like. There's a thumbs up icon. You'll know it when you see it because it says the word like. Click that. Find the word follow. It's different on different platforms and follow the page. Click that. Make sure there's a tick next to follow and share it. But liking and following does one thing for you. It makes sure that when we are going live, you're going to get the notification. We need the numbers up here tonight to be real big. And we need you to work on that. We need you to pay attention to that. Because we built the other page. We built it from 21,000 likes in February to almost 100,000 now. And we know the way to do it. We know the path to do it. People want the information that they get here from me on these pages. They want that information. They just need to know how to get it. Tonight's show is going to be a busy show. So in the minutes that follow, please, if you could, let your friends and family know. Those who don't have social media, bring them to sit down next to you. Let them use yours. It's important that these messages get out. Trinidad and Tobago is beset on all sides by some criminal actions. And we need, us, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, us, the owners of this country, we need to understand how a country works. We need to understand how a country is supposed to work. We need to understand our role and our responsibility to this democracy. Trinidad and Tobago is failing fast. Tonight I had to block a guy who came on the chat and say, because he said it on multiple posts, I don't care if you block me, all you only on talk, talk. We need action, we need to get outside there and mash up. I block him. Because first of all, I don't think we need to mash up. That's how you gone from 0 to 100. Right now, we just need to stand up. Mash up not even on the list of things that we need to do. We need to stand together as people, as one people, under one flag, under one national anthem. One Trinbagonian people, red, white, black, green, and every shade in between. You're not fixing it until you do that. If the argument continue to be thief more, thief less, African, Indian voting, don't care, we like it, so we jamming still, all of that nonsense. Waste 5-year chunks of our lives. And our country is sinking fast. Right now, for the next tiny 1 minute and 30 seconds, I want to be able to share to my WhatsApp broadcast. And if you have any kind of following on WhatsApp, please, now would be a good time. Share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, share it on TikTok, share it on a piece of paper and hand it to your neighbor over the fence because there's a curfew. So don't go out in the road, hand it over the fence and tell them share your neighbor next side. Tell everybody, call people on the phone, say, listen, Philip Edward Alexander is on tonight. And tonight's show, fake oil, Faris, Pfizer, and Fitz. We're going to address some issues. Needs to be addressed. First of all, and I need to say this, the media does an excellent job of disrupting the narrative and fooling the public. Whichever news media put out today in the public space, you can start at the top, we start with fake oil. Whichever media put out today that AV Oil 1 was being disingenuous and trying to shape a narrative that is not true. I'll tell you why. This is a civil case between AV Oil and Petrotrin. Petrotrin don't exist no more. There's a government minister in charge of energy that's answering on behalf of a government friendly with the claimant. This is not an easy piece of nonsense to accept for any country in the world. Nations jail prime ministers for things like this. So we need to make sure that we have people up at the very top dealing with this. But I was reminded today, there is a criminal investigation into AV Oil, and that is underway. That's not over. That's not over. And this is not over. Because you need to also remember that AV Oil lost some matters. And Dulal put out some information today in the public space that led me to some articles. Please share this video, please. And I am sorry for, I hate when I go on videos and people begging you to share the video. But this video is important, and you share this video because it's important. And please, and please, 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 I want you to see this, eh? This is so dystopian. I want you to see this article. You see this Newsday article? What it says is AV Oil loses in Privy Council. You see that? I want you to watch this. Page not found. All you think, all you know what's going on. So, there's another article that was in Power 102. That one's still up. I've copied and pasted the text. AV Oil and Gas. What was the date of this? It's Power 102. They don't have a date? AV Oil and Gas, in an attempt to convince the court that there is a case against state-owned Petrotrin's termination of its contract, has lost once again. On Monday, the Privy Council refused AV and Oil permission to appeal a ruling of the local court of the appeal, effectively clearing the way for the refinery to give effect to the termination of the contract. This includes taking possession of AV Oil's assets. As a result of Monday's ruling, the 2-week-old temporary injunction was lifted. In an online post this afternoon, Newsday reported that the lease operator was unsuccessful in its bid to challenge Petrotrin's entitlement to withhold $83.9 million, which was retained under a term of the agreement between the state oil company and the lease operator. AV Oil's attorneys on February 15th applied for and were granted the injunction to the Privy Council on Ash Wednesday. 2 similar injunctions for interim relief were previously sought in the local courts and were denied. Petrotrin on December 22nd announced the termination of its contract with AV Oil and Gas. But I want you to understand this. This is a country where a PNM government coming into office discontinued a lawful matter against Malcolm Jones for gas to liquids. All of these things is why Petrotrin is no more. There was a feasting and a feeding frenzy. Now, I don't want to preempt criminal investigation underway, and I don't want to add nothing to what is taking place in the courts. But it seems like this is another one of those Piaco Airport. Piaco Airport cost us $150 million trying to recover $1 billion. This AV Oil look like another one of those. It looks like another one of those that is going to take us a long time. And either way you look at it, it is going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. But to get fake oil off the list, deal with that fast. And tonight, I am being ably seconded by Satish Ramsaran, who is giving me follow-up talking points on anything that I omit. So if you want to get through to me on WhatsApp, 682-2110, you could WhatsApp me. I give you very good advice. Keep it like a miniskirt. Long enough to cover the subject, short enough to be interesting. Don't ramble on, because I can't read your rambling WhatsApp while I am doing this very important video. Fake oil, Faris, Pfizer, and and Fitz. Pfizer and Fitz is going to take up the bulk of this live video tonight. Let's get to Faris. Listening to Faris Al-Rawi, and I had to put out something like a release today, and I'm happy that it fell under Faris because I didn't want to stray from the responsibilities today of what we're going to discuss tonight. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are fed up. Now, a lady called me yesterday, and she's not the only one, but I want to talk to her and give her some confidence because she's not a young woman and she has breast cancer, and she's taken a while to get to a place where she could accept the massive surgery, the invasive surgery. She has to have surgery to remove breasts and her womb, and it's almost an assault on her womanhood, and it took her a while to get there. And she told me on the phone, you could hear the strength in this woman's voice as she's facing a cliff that many can't face. She's facing death, and she's facing an assault on her womanhood. She's facing basic fear of things like surgery. The word cancer is the biggest, most feared word. Cancer is more feared than the words fire and shark. Cancer is fear. When a doctor tells you you have cancer, your worldview changes, Every single second that ticks by after that diagnosis, your view of everything, you feel life slip through your hands. Nobody gets a diagnosis of cancer and think, all right, we're up for this challenge. Cancer, the announcement that you have cancer, is like standing up in the ring facing Mike Tyson, and before the bell ring, before the fight start, while they're still announcing the names of the fighters, Tyson walk over and hit you square in your face. The diagnosis that you have cancer hits you like that first punch. So every response that you make after that, you're already off balance and reeling. And I've dealt with enough people, God bless the souls of those who did not survive, who have gone on. But when this lady called me, she called me like somebody, and she tells me she weighs 110 pounds. She said, Mr. Alexander, I ready for them, She sounded like somebody who would have stood back up and bitch slapped Tyson. She said to me, the doctors in the St. James Medical Clinic, the cancer clinic, she called their names and she highlighted some. And she said, Mr. Alexander, they are such good human beings and they're such good doctors. And she is calling me because she has no one else to call. She has no one else to turn to. And people telling her, well, girl, you might as well call Philip and let him put it on blast. And what's going on is that they are shutting down the cancer care clinic in St. James that takes care of so many people. They have gotten to the point where they no longer care to fool you or pretend that what they're doing is public health for that $5 billion. Now, it's just cuff and kick in your face. Because when the people who used to go to the wound clinic in St. James, that same place, there was something called the wound clinic. I did not even know that there are people who are living with wounds and this is a disgusting thing to hear, there are human beings who are living with wounds that need regular maintenance and treatment. It cannot heal for whatever reason, for whatever condition is preventing it from healing. So the wounds will never heal, and if they don't get it treated regularly, it could become septic, they could get gangrene, or they could lose body parts or even die. They shut down the wound clinic after the protestation of what is usually poor elderly people. Poor elderly people. And when the Minister of Finance spoke once about just in that moment, I just added $2.50 to 250,000 minimum wage earners, it made me understand. There are 500,000 people in this country who are below the poverty line, and 250,000 people who are minimum wage earners. That's 750,000 people, desperately poor people. Sorry, I forgot to put the other phone on silent. I've done that. We won't get interrupted again. That's 750,000 of our brothers and sisters, and we who are fortunate, we who are blessed, some who will never know what it is like to go hungry or to go without money, or worse, you could face hunger, you could face suffering. You know what hard? To look into your children's eyes when they hungry and you can't do nothing. A man called me tonight. He want to kill himself. He's a strong man. This man drive truck for Wassa, drive maxi taxi, workers, bodyguard security in nightclub, and he called me to tell me, he said, Philip, I don't want nothing from you, I don't want no money, I don't want nothing. I just want you to hear my story, boy, because I want a suicide run. I said, what do you mean? He said, I can't. He said, nothing working. I had another opening, another chance. This is a man who I know, he lived on an empty farm and watchman the farm during the lowest time in his life just to survive and make our money and pay for his children. And I'm telling you, to hear him, and I had to tell him on the phone, I said, listen, it's not my place to put my opinion in your decisions. And life and death, the decision to take your own life is the biggest decision that you will ever make, because it's the last decision. After that, there's no more deciding. And in fact, the word decide comes from a Latin word that means to cut off. After that, once a decision is made, that's it. Well, that decision is cut off from life. And I told him, I said, no matter how bad things get. And I give him all the cliches. It's almost dark. It's always darkest before the dawn. But this time, when these politicians fighting and playing political hopscotch, there are people in this country contemplating suicide as a way out, because the government and the opposition, the parliament has failed us. We get bullshit, bacchanal and noise. We do not get anything that sounds sensible or reasonable. There's nothing like a plan. Your prime minister came to the country on Saturday and told you that the words I want to use, I'm going to tell you something, the words I want to use are beyond industrial, The words I want to use are acidic. I can't believe that this man looked at 1.1 million adults through the camera and told them, well, we tried a thing. It failed. So we put thousands, tens of thousands of you all at risk to COVID-19. We tried a thing. We never planned. We never have a clue. We had no idea what we was doing. And we just pelt a stone. We knew we only had 50 doses per health center. We knew that. We had to know that. Somebody had to know how much was in the boxes. And the fact that they could still be staining public office with their horrific and disgusting presence tonight is everything you need to know. And it leads us to the statement by the opposition leader. Now, today Kirk Megu put out a statement about vaccine apartheid, because we brought the information to the public today. And we've been in a back and forth with the Ministry of National Security, who jump out themselves to jump in this. Now, that's some information that they didn't have. So they tie up their foot and they tie up their head, and we come into that. But when Kirk Megu realized that the actual, real, de facto paid opposition is outside of the conversation, they had to find a sensational way to insert themselves back in. So they had to give people something to talk about. So he used the word vaccine apartheid. But Kirk Megu is a jackass. He is not attracting anybody. In fact, they have turned off die-hard UNC supporters who are now floating free because they don't know where they're going. I've said we don't have a political party. There may be conversations to be had with all of the others floating free in the future, but that's not happening now. And that's not to say that I would be interested. I'm 54 years old and I have a family, and I said I was giving this until 2018, 10 years from the 2008 from my accident. And we went on, I stayed till now, I'm here. And we fought an election in 2020. But there are other people with political aspirations, and they should be given a chance. It shouldn't be red and yellow every single time. It shouldn't come down to that. And when Kirk Megu doesn't understand that he is throwing He is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. He is leading and already limping UNC astray. Now, I say all of that because you are the opposition. I have to sensationalize things. I have to make a noise. I need to say, look at me, to get people to listen. It is ridiculous that people look to me before office holders and the opposition to hear what the truth is outside. And that's not my fault. I have just been doing my part. The UNC supposed, the opposition, I didn't want to call party names. The opposition supposed to do theirs. This here that you see I wear on the shirt, this is not a political movement. This is an activist group. We support people. We stand up for people against private and public sector abuse. The Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago is organizing mass of people of Trinidad and Tobago to give them benefits and support and to be able to sue the state on behalf of those 750,000 desperately poor people for their share of the treasury. And we'll come to that in the future because there's a court and there's a court of appeal and there's a privy council. And then there's a court of public opinion come elections time. 750,000 people are not going to be denied. We come back to all of that. Give me a sip. A second for a sip. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa decided to sensationalize the issue and tell the government that they're risking a 1990 uprising, there is truth to what she says. People are frustrated. People were frustrated 2020 when Keith Rowley dissolved Parliament. The corridor was coming down. In fact, the day that we heard Parliament was dissolved, the rumors that we were hearing that what was going to take place in town was frightening. We had standoffs and shootouts. You remember, y'all remember what was going on in 2020 in East Port of Spain with the police and the residents, and it was growing and it was mushrooming. Remember that? You see, Kamla Prasad Bisesa can't mobilize Bitam. They have nobody in the UNC, not Jolene John, not David Nakin, nobody could mobilize more than Bitam, Lavantil, Ceylons. That mass of people have been conned and tricked into knowing, not thinking, knowing that PNM will take care of them. So they have something that trips in a person when the person who is responsible for taking care of them turns on them or lets them down. And that's the all of that is the PNM circus. That's nobody else's issue. And this is where Kamla was out of place. Because she was stating the obvious. And she was looking for media mileage. And she was looking for headlines. And again, like bananas, like blank, like blank man, like all the other shit that her people give her. And now they're giving Kirk Megu. Because they have some shit-on communicators in the UNC that giving these people shit to talk. So in 124 hours, we get the promise of 1990 or the specter of 1990 and vaccine apartheid. That's what you're getting from the country's actual opposition. Will you leave for me? Will you leave for the rest of us who hold no office and we just talk? What do you leave for us to say? If you've gotten to the point where you are talking those things, Kamla was wrong. But Faris and Rowley's beat up. Rowley put out a release from the office of the Prime Minister. Faris come to say, no, to finger wag. This is the Faris who went on Fazir Mohammed show and said to Fazir, Udicott was worse than 9/11. And Fazir sit back and say, Faris, you're talking shit. Here's the word shit. He said, but don't come on the show and talk that kind of nonsense now, man. Thousands of people died in 9/11. Tens of thousands died since. Nobody ain't dead in email gate. You're talking absolute foolishness. Anyway, I had to respond because if you are the opposition and your communications people taking you back to dog whistling and calling vaccine apartheid, nobody can rely on you to say anything. So I had to say, because somebody needs to always tell people, listen, I know you're frustrated. And I know that there is an absence of real leadership in this country. And I tell you something, for those of you who don't know me, I have been through, I say I lived a Forrest Gump life. I have been homeless. I have lived at the mercy of other people to survive and start over a life. I lost everything. A friend of mine, Marlon, this guy who died last year, 2020, God rest his soul. He allowed me to stay by him for a couple of weeks, but he was broke and catching a tail, and I was broke and catching a tail, and we ate for 3 days. And I had a then 10-year-old son, and his birthday came up. My son's birthday came up, and I had nowhere to live, and I had no money, and I was hungry, and I couldn't tell anybody. It was the lowest point in my life. My son was 10. He was my beating heart. He still is my beating heart, my son. And the most valuable possession I had in the world was a painting that I still had left, that somebody wanted. And they knew my condition. And they gave me, I swear to you, if you ever want to feel like a piper, they gave me $5 for my painting. And I took it. So I could go to Kappa Drugs with my son, 10 years old. And we buy 2 small Cokes and some Joe gum. And we blew bubbles and drank Coke. And I could tell you what it feels like to have absolutely nothing and to be at your wit's end. And I want to tell you this. My fortunes, and you had to keep trying, because if you keep trying, your fortunes will turn around. It is as sure as night follows day. You walk through that valley of the shadow of death, and you pass through that. You have to. It'll make you better. It'll make you stronger. You will learn to appreciate life, and you will learn to appreciate things and belongings and value and people. You'll know the meaning of friend. You will understand a lot out of life if you walk through that valley. And to those of you who dare now, even in the absence of leadership in this country, trust me when I tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago is going through its valley now. And Trinidad and Tobago will come out of this at some point. It will. A day will come when we will shake all of this off. We are learning, we are experiencing. Trinidadians are realizing African Indian politics, red and yellow politics, PNM, UNC politics. Trinidadians realizing that don't make sense. Trinidadians realizing those who sit on their ass and don't vote, they're realizing there's a consequence to not voting. We all coming to our senses, and this sometimes it has take a roughing, it has take a roughing up, it has take a rundown to get you to a place of understanding where Trinis, red, white, black, green, and every shade in between could stand up and see each other as one brother, one sister, and share from my plate to yours. We will get through this together. I promise you we'll get through this together. Don't listen. There are countries in this world that people wouldn't have spit on. Colombia, Rwanda, Haiti, Somalia. Those countries are on the up right now. Trinidad will survive all of these political machinations. I had to put out this very brief release, listening to the PNM of Emailgate that dragged this country's parliament and democracy through the mud, who used privilege to slander high office holders and ascribe to them murderous motives in a way that seemed to have been designed to provoke civil unrest. Against the then government when they were in opposition. Hearing them cautioning the current opposition leader for suggesting that the mass of poor citizens cannot take much more and that the government has the ultimate responsibility to prevent the recurrence of the worst of our times is borderline ludicrous and laugh out loud funny. Faris Al-Rawi, I want to tell you something. This is not a secret. There is nobody in this country that do not look at you as greedy and disgusting. There's nobody. You and your family, the Nahus family, and those buildings that stand up like middle fingers to decency on Tradgate Road and Alexandra Street, those buildings and you and that nasty rent, there are people who see you and people like you, both sides, as the reason for our problems today. Don't feel that you're farting through silk and you're wearing your pocket square and your hair coiffed. Don't feel that you're fooling people. At best, Trinidadians are good and decent, law-abiding. People just tell you, rather than say what I want to say, I will keep my mouth shut. Keith Rowley, your government is a mess. This nation is suffering the worst of times as a direct result of the criminal incompetence of your cabinet. Your failure to cut salaries, to convene the salary review committee and cut from president come back as an emergency measure is a testimony to your greed and your hatefulness. You do not like people. We need a government and a prime minister that likes people, that want everybody to eat. You know that. Moving forward, fake oil and Faris. Let's get down to Pfizer and Fitz. Before we even reach Fitz, this morning, early o'clock, because early o'clock this morning, I got multiples of things in my email. And the first thing I got this morning was Faris children exemptions signed by Minister of National Security at a time when I wasn't sure if he was the Minister of National Security. But that wasn't the point at the time. At the point in time, what we were looking at is the exemptions, serial exemptions for Faris children, while the rest of the country's people were begging to be able to come home. So I called law enforcement to tell them, look, I have this information. I have it. I'm going to put it out in the public space. But the people who gave it to me gave it to others. And before I turned around twice, it was in the Guardian. And I was taking time to cross out people's passport number and thing, but the Guardian went to the whole thing. So I said, well, right, we'll share it. So I thought that was the high point of today. But then, reading my email, I realized I got a document on a United States State Department letterhead that had some very troubling information on it. In this one-page brief, 3 lines, 5 lines. In this brief 5 lines, this document went to the heart of this country. This document stated that a courier authorized by a medical officer, Stephanie Merchant, MD, of the Bureau of Medical Services, United States Department of State. I was holding all of this back. I put out the video first. I had to call the commissioner of police. He took the call. It was a Sunday morning. I didn't expect him to take a call. I said, listen, I'm only disturbing you because of this. Because he asked me which neighbor fighting with the next neighbor for avocado hanging over the yard. He's make a joke because we call him for nonsense. And he damn right. And I tell him, he says, send that to me. I said, I'm sending it to you, but I'm making this public. He said, yeah, but send it to me. So I sent it to him. But I contacted the person who would know the source of this, or who I thought would know the source of this. And he suspected other people have it. So I called a couple people in the media. They never had it. They didn't see it. They didn't know what I was talking about. And then I got on to one person who, he had a copy. He didn't know how I got a copy. And we realized something was going to be done. But he didn't want to do it because there are a lot of victimization that come out of this, local and international. I said, you know what? We're going in. So I did a video this morning. And in that video, I asked some questions that people didn't realize the level of deceit that is capable of taking place in this country. Those of you who are new to the video, the page that this video is on is called the Philip Edward Alexander page. It is our new media platform. It is our multimedia platform. Please go to the page itself, click like, click follow, and click share. Just get other people to know that it exists, so that when we come out with videos like this, you don't have to say, damn, I missed it, why didn't I get a notification? Click like, click follow, you'll get your notification. The first issue to be addressed was, you see, what this letter said was that the bearer of the letter, Heather Marie Mulrooney, it gave the woman's date of birth. A U.S. Department of State officer traveling from New York to Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, is authorized to carry the following vaccinations and supplies for official use. Now, I'm going through this whole thing with you now. 80 vials Pfizer COVID vaccine, 401 milliliter syringes, 100 vials vaccine diluent. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. Please do not hesitate to contact us directly with questions or concerns. Now, Customs flagged the shipment because they did not have relevant accompanying documents, including food and drug approvals. And the last time somebody spoke, this fella Arjun, and he living his best day. Because since Arjun went on TV6 and told Fazir Mohammed that people are bringing in private caches of Pfizer and Moderna and dealing with it among themselves, he was ridiculed. And he was told, the CMO said that he checked with the food and drug and there was no documentation of the food and drug. So it couldn't be. This had no documentation, and still the Defense Force came and picked it up. So it exists somewhere in this country without food and drug approvals. So, Mr. CMO, again, Parasram, your information is troublingly wrong. For somebody who occupies the position that you occupy, the drawing the salary that you draw in, and getting the national attention that you get, your information is troublingly wrong. You're making it difficult for people to respect you as an office holder and trust you. Because if you say that it is not possible, and today showed that it is, you should resign. This is grounds for a man of integrity to resign. Your professional ethics are challenged by the lies that you are telling when you say that it can't happen without food and drug, and it happened today without food and drug. What is the next thing you're gonna say? But when I put out the video, because I was the first one out the box with the video, the first video was 8 minutes long. Now, I asked questions based on the documentation. But I wanted to hear what the public was going to say. I told the public, I said, let me tell you quick, eh? If this document was to accompany a shipment, and this is in my video, my first video, 10 o'clock this morning. If this was a government-to-government relationship here, this would have been addressed to the Minister of Health, or the Minister of National Security, or the Minister, to the Honorable Prime Minister. It would have been addressed to somebody. This is to whom it may concern. That means that the woman who signed this, Stephanie Merchant, and the woman carrying these drugs, Heather Marie Mulrooney, had no idea who they were going to. They had none. When I say they had no idea who it is going to, if you say it's a government person, because to whom it may concern is a letter to whichever customs officer I bounce up with this letter. I don't know who's going to be on shift. I don't know who's going to be on duty. But I just want to get these drugs passed. So debunk. And when I say debunk, I had to have this conversation like a pushing a football field football team across a field. Fitzgerald Hines' Ministry of National Security, no, there is an employee in the Ministry of National Security named END, E-N-D, because END put out those releases and END signed it. Because if it was a serious release to end this conversation, somebody in authority in the Ministry of National Security would have had the decency and the professional courtesy to sign those releases. And I want to tell you something. Fitzgerald Hines need to be fired tonight for this. His part is to get involved and pretend that the government knew this was coming, but is addressed to whom it may concern. So he lied. He's lying. It took 3 tries and 2 releases for them to get their story straight. The media run with the first set of information and had to come back and oops and undo and redo and rewrite history. And the public standing up there watching and saying, but these people take all of us for fools. You're going to do enough paperwork to undo this? And I had to tell the public, this is coming from the United States State Department. But it is not for the United States Embassy. There's a whole different channel. That would have never seen the light of day. The customs officer who was dealing with that, he would have dealt with that through diplomatic channels. That was never seen the light of day. That going straight. If this was diplomatic, it would have come in the pouch. It would have come in the diplomatic pouch and nobody, not police, not army, not national security, not customs, not food and drug, nobody looking in that diplomatic pouch. It is diplomatic immunity. We get that abroad, they get that here. That's the rule. So this wasn't for them. This was not for them. And Fitzgerald Hines is telling a deceitful untruth when he says that this was for the Ministry of National Security personnel. You have 16,000 people working under you. There are 5 doses. I thought it was 10 this morning. There are 5 doses in a vial. That's 400 doses of 2 shots required. So that means it's 200 vaccinations. You have 16,000 people who in the Ministry of National Security win that lotto to get the Pfizer vaccination in a country that frayed Sinopharm like kept frayed holy water. People begging to bring proper vaccines. Keep Rowley telling them, you can't get it, it's hard to get, you can't bring it, nobody don't have it, the man lie, nobody can get it, and boom, this. Keith Rowley look like a liar. Keith Rowley looks like he is either lying again, or he is too incompetent to know the truth. And both of those are frightening for a prime minister of a country and a prime minister who wielding the authority of a state of emergency right now. Keith Rowley needs to be fired, fixed to a horse, and the horse sent on its way. That is what needs to be done. Every single member of cabinet in this country has failed us this week. This week here alone should be a reason. And if there were not a state of emergency, we would have 200,000 people in the street calling for an election. This is unacceptable. You cannot have your Minister of Finance tell the people that the government has broken its trust with you, that your due payments every month for all of your working life to the National Insurance Board doesn't matter. Because you ever hear an insurance company could tell people that we take your premiums every month or every year of your life, and then when it's time to pay up, telling you you're living too long? That is a lawsuit to take your whole company. All of these pensioners, the government is going to change the terms of reference that you entered into with people 30, 40, 50 years ago. And if there are any good lawyers in this country, they would take the government to task and take control of the assets of National Insurance Board and auction it. There was jailable action that took place in National Insurance Board. That's just the Minister of Finance coming to tell people, all you live too long, that's why you have no money. And getting the Chamber of Commerce to come in and talk this shit with you. The reason you have no money is that all they went and overspent National Insurance people contribution for your friends in Apsara and Tamnaktai. In case you all don't know, it is National Insurance Board money that was jumping up. in Piarco Airport with Ish and Steve and Brian and the whole airport, 13 and 14 and 15. When you hear is nip deck, when a nip deck property becomes a multi-story car park in town, you have a responsibility to disclose. When I find out that a nip deck board of directors director, his company is doing a joint venture with the National Insurance Board with NIPDEC, those are red flags. National Insurance Board gave Tamnaktai's owner, Apsara's owner, twice the value of the property to buy it. Bought it at twice the value and then rented it back to them at half the value and never collected the rent. And you want to tell people that they live it, you're an advantage. Listen, Colm Imbert needs to be set adrift. He is not supposed to be talking to good and decent people. Our people are being abused by this racist politics that have landed this bunch of demons. To speak to them. Terence D. Alsing, give you an oops. Brother, your failure, you, Richards, Trotman, Parasram, and Hines, y'all may have killed people who don't know they're dying yet, who may have been infected by COVID-19, elderly people who stood up for hours, and to hear jackasses say they don't know they're supposed to social distance. They've been standing up there since 5:30 in the morning, and you all knew that you didn't have more than 50 doses, and there was nobody to tell them, and you left them there as a viral highway, transmission highway. There are people who came out for your Wednesday and Thursday and Friday experiment who are going to get COVID-19 and die because of you. That is criminal. You should be charged with attempted murder. That's the truth. That's not sensationalism. That is the responsibility to call a press conference and tell people, I will let you open your hardware on Monday and on Wednesday and half on Friday. We give you that authority because we expect accountability and responsibility. That comes with the job too. It's not just big boss thing. So when you make a judgment call, and that judgment call puts people in harm's way and danger, it's not just oops. You were to be fired. And Keith Rowley riding racist, tribal, segregationist, separation politics. And that is the only reason every time you open his blasted mouth to talk Kamala and UNC is to dog whistle and to tell people, leave me in office because she waiting to come in. But when he say, is he responsible? Charge him. Start to document every single person 14 days from now who get tested positive for COVID 14 days from now. If there was in that line, charge Rowley and Dialsing for each and every one of them for attempted murder and hope they don't die. That's the truth. That is what responsibility means. But that is lost on you all, on the theater and the circus of this government. Back on the point. This Pfizer cache of vaccines that came in today, when the Ministry of National Security put out not one but two releases to claim it, somebody sent a message to me that the Freedom of Information Act is blocked for issues of national security. Because even, here they say, this is why Fitzgerald Hines need to be fired. You see how in one day, Colm, Dialsing, Rowley, and Hines need to be fired, and Dialsing's whole band of incompetence. I wanted to touch on Trotman, who when asked about this young man who got the COVID vaccine and died, she said it's the autopsy said he had COVID-19. So he had COVID-19, he take the vaccine and that's what killed him? That's what you're saying? You're telling us about thrombolysis and blood clot and all kind of stupidness. The question that you answered was that his autopsy said he had COVID-19. Are you saying he died from COVID-19? Or are you saying that his COVID-19 was exacerbated by that vaccination? Because that's a very clear point that we need to understand, you know. Because if that is what took place, and y'all are not testing people before you injecting them, You're playing Russian roulette with people's lives. If that is a distinct possibility, that if someone has COVID-19 and are asymptomatic, as this gentleman was, and takes a vaccine, they could die, and you're not telling them that, and you're not testing them. When I went West Shore test me in 15 minutes, they was able to tell me negative. At least do that. At least do that test up in your nose. At least do that before you vaccinate people. Come in, test. You free? Join the next line. Vaccine time. I was going to tell all you. Faris Al-Rawi put out a conversation about the cabinet has not yet met to discuss if they're going to make vaccines mandatory. First of all, brother, I want to tell you something. We will riot for that. Don't write that law. Don't write that law. The people of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'll be outside there. I will be outside there. Don't write that law. But besides that, forget that. That's not important. What's important is that you can't put vaccines in the arms of people who are willing to line up from 5:30 in the morning, but you already talking about making vaccines mandatory. What level of jackass have you reached? You are king jackass now. You can't put your hands on enough vaccines for the 80% of the population that is required to reach herd immunity, that wants it, that chancing it, that trust you, that coming out and saying, look, we vaccinate we. You can't get enough vaccine to vaccinate them. You can't get enough personnel. You bring out vet and doublesman to vaccinate people now. You send people up by Lifetime Roofing and rent out the place to train people to come and become vaccinators. You have soldiers vaccinating people. You can't get the plan to work. You can't get the plan to work for the people who are willing to trust you. You can't get the plan to work for the people who want a vaccine. But you want to come and vaccinate people who don't want it. That is a madman. An absolute, total and complete madman. Where we are at as a nation tonight is that our government has collapsed in office. The only thing holding them up is a weak opposition and a state of emergency. That's all. Keith Rowley's government has collapsed. It has failed. It is broken. It cannot ever undo these things. You are now dealing with a government that has broken financial trust with the public. Colm Imbert as Minister of Finance, his rantings could have put the entire banking sector at risk as people lose faith and lose trust in insurance and banking and rush for the money that close down everything. The economy, the country would have fall. Telling people they live too long, but people know they give you their money every single time they get paid. You take that piece of money. And now you're telling them they can't get their money. You could have broken trust. Colm Imbert should have been fired. Faris Al-Rawi should have been fired the day before he was hired. Terence Dial Singh has so many unpardonable sins listed against him. His team, I hear they call it, because I was the one who was making a joke about Avery Hines and his graphs. I hear they calling him Steffi Graph. Graph. And the Ministry of Health playing a game with the public. Testing for 5 days and telling you 300 cases. 5 more days tomorrow, 300 cases. 40 days, the same day of this week and last week. You're making a mockery. You're making a mockery of government. To the people of Trinidad and Tobago, go and read, listen. Go by the taxi stand. Go and listen to people talking. I can't tell you go in the rum shop or they close down the rum shop. You should have let people drink. At least they'd be drunk and they'd pretend that look it's tolerable because I'm drunk. At least let them drink. Go on social media on every... Listen, you have the handful of sycophants that are paid to talk nonsense. But outside of that handful, the majority of people are so disillusioned with Trinidad and Tobago and its entire leadership that it's frightening. You are going to need these people to trust you as we rebuild from below ground. We're not at rock bottom, you know. We are below that. Trinidad is in debt. And the government tell you they have money in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Yes. But they're not telling you that the column of debt is larger than that sum. And while they could spend it legally, what they're doing is removing any buffer and any chance of you rescuing this economy without losing control of the country. We are at a bad, bad place. And I, sitting here tonight, can't even tell you an election now is the solution. We as a people have come to a new level of hell, not even Dante considered in the levels of hell in Dante's Inferno. We're at a new level of hell. We're at a level of hell where we don't know how bad things really are until the Auditor General tells us. And the Auditor General is always 2 and 3 years behind the problem. So that means if we're going to crash, we will get the information of the crash that's coming 3 years after we crash. And that's unacceptable. Sitting here tonight, I don't trust anybody in the parliament. I don't trust the speaker. I don't trust the Senate to function. I don't trust the president. She's hide and seek champion. She's social distance, check this, social distancing champion of the world. She's been social distancing for COVID-19 since they appoint her. I don't trust none of them. And I don't know who to tell you to trust. I don't trust the Archbishop, and I know Jason Gordon well. I don't trust him. I don't trust any of the leaders of any of the churches. I don't trust anybody in civil society. I am not hearing people standing up and talking truth to power. It is too easy for government to snatch up a 1 million or 2 million or 5 million and hand it to people and tell them, take that and hush them out, and all them stand up there saying, oh God, thank you, Father. We could use this. We didn't have pigeon peas in the pail out for months. But that's not the role of being a civil leader. When you're a civil leader, if you don't have peas in the pillow, you eat rice and hush, but you talk and you speak truth to power, because by continuing to pretend that what is going on, by not speaking up, because people look to people who are supposed to talk. And if you're not talking, then they will believe. You will have them laboring under the misconception that any of this is right or any of this is normal, and it's not. And I'm calling on all of you, just speak out. We need to get the public to understand that there is a reasoning outside of tribal, racist politics of greed and corruption. They need to understand that there are people in the society that in a push could come together. We need a cabinet of 5 people to run this country, to properly run this country. A proper 5. You need a proper Attorney General, a proper Minister of National Security, a proper Minister of Finance, a proper Minister of Health, a proper Minister of Education. Right now, the rest could operate under the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister don't have one shit to do in this country but talk nonsense and foolishness and lead the whole country astray. I don't know tonight. I don't know what our next step is, other than we need, us the people, we need to calmly and soberly unite as a people. If we don't do that, that's our last hope, you know. Our last hope is to say, but I don't like you. There are people I don't like, and I will work with them just to get the country safe, just to get it better. Agriculture, food production, that is a department in the United States of America. It is a department. In Trinidad, it's a ministry. Sports is a ministry. Those are departments of state that fall under super ministry. Social development and management takes care of a lot of that. The Prime Minister's office takes care of a lot of that. That is the function of it. Desks in that office. We pay people salaries as ministers that don't qualify as ministries. This entire country has been set up as a looting and a fooling. So they fool people, corner them into poverty, and then come back and take taxes from them and fund things to pay them and then take a piece. It's like them old-time casino. You ever go in the casino and sit down and play a poker? You're playing poker whole night, and no matter what go on, every hand, no matter how big the pot is, the casa take a percentage. The casa is the only one that wins. He get a piece of every pot. Tomorrow, somebody is going to answer from the United States Embassy, because today, the United States Embassy told all of the media that contacted them, they have no comment. Now hear me here. Fitzgerald Hines and his Ministry of National Security wants you to believe that the United States Department gave 200 vaccines to Trinidad. They want you to believe that the United States of America that promised to give us 1 million doses gave us 200. He wants you to believe that even though they had a press conference yesterday, when it's about under the sun, Rowley ran out of things to talk about, he started talking about cement. But you know, and you know people want Pfizer vaccine, and you know people want to know where vaccine coming from, and you know you don't have more than 50 vaccine in each health center, but you know that 200 coming from America, and you tell nobody. Why is that a Ministry of National Security issue? Why is that not Ministry of Health? Even if it was for the Ministry of National Security, it goes to the Ministry of Health first, through Food and Drug, and then the Ministry of Health applies it. National Security don't vaccinate themselves. They are law unto themselves now. That's what you're saying. But the biggest thing is tomorrow, because Loop published what Fitzgerald Hines said. But they didn't corroborate that with the United States Embassy. And the United States Embassy told all the media who called them, no comment. We'll comment tomorrow. That means the United States Embassy has been embarrassed into a position where they have to either join the lie to cover Trinidad's ass or to put them on the spot. And I want to tell you that either way I'm interested. I'm interested to see what the United States of America's embassy does and says tomorrow, because I want to tell you this, and this is a fact. If the United States of America was sending a first shipment of vaccines, somebody representing Uncle Sam would have been there for the cameras. And somebody representing Trinidad and Tobago would have been there for the cameras. The only reason they are giving anything to backwaters like ours is to say, look, we just help people. That's the only reason. They don't care. Don't fool yourself. The fact that there was nobody to say, we here with your vaccines, and hand it over, and Dial Singh with his skinning pan, shaking hand or bouncing Wuhan or whatever, to make the front page of the paper Sunday morning. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And that's the biggest red flag. And the fact that the United States Embassy don't have somebody who answered the phone and said, yes, we did that. We're a magnanimous and generous nation. We've been magnanimous and generous for a long time. And we were very, very happy to contact Fitzgerald Hines and to give him 200 doses for his 16,000 national security operative personnel. Yes, yes, it was us. Uncle Sam is your friend. Remember that the next time you hear the Star Spangled Banner. But that didn't take place. The United States had nothing. No release. They didn't verify, corroborate. Our media didn't even see. CNC3 just ran with it. Without checking, without verifying. That means our media, like Schrodinger's cat, as of now, until the United States Embassy verifies what Hines said, have published either the truth or a lie. And they don't know. And we don't know. But I want to say it to you, because I am assuming of the 2,300 people on the live right now, all of you big and have sense. I want to say it to you. Every single shipment of vaccines we've gotten, St. Vincent, Grenada, Antigua, Barbuda, wherever, a big fuss was made. Why would a shipment from the most powerful nation in the world, whose largesse could vaccinate all of us if they wanted, why would they send a shipment surreptitiously under the cover of darkness without even paperwork? Why would that be the case? Of all the things. I am just sent a release from the United States Embassy. Thank you, Kendall Baggy. This is what the release says. Now, I'm not speaking for America, but I telling you, you make your own judgment call here. The government of the United States of America has made a donation of COVID-19 vaccines to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The donation includes 80 vials of Pfizer vaccines. The United States is committing to assisting the government of Trinidad and Tobago with its vaccination effort. We believe that every vaccine counts. Now, I want to tell you something. I will accept it. But the fact that it took 24 hours for you to write it, the fact that it took 24 hours for it to be available, the fact that it is so devoid of any of the words that you would expect that heralded the first donation of vaccines from America to Trinidad tells you a lot. It tells you plenty. We did a poll tonight. The poll asked, do you think the government is being less than truthful in its response to issues of national concern? 1,368 people said yes, 93%. 100 people said no, 7%. That is a damning number. I am reading all of my WhatsApps that I got while I was talking, and that one with the United States, I think that this is all damage control. And I think that there should be more information added to this. And I'd ask these questions of the United States of America. If this was a donation of vaccines to Trinidad and Tobago, where was the advance notification? Where was the paperwork? Why wasn't this announced yesterday in the press conference? Why was this release not ready when the information blew up in the public space today? So many questions on this too little, far too late release from the United States Embassy tells me that this is a lot of damage control. There is something else going on here. And at this point, it's beyond my pay scale. There is a government that is responsible. You have to decide now if its actions today inspired you to trust them at all. I say to you, my position, Trinidad's government came across, somebody posted today that he didn't know Pfizer was part of Amazon Prime, and that after the press conference, they decide to send we an overnight shipment and it reached in the morning. There was some work involved in a country with a closed airport to get those vaccines to us. People, if this was a government-to-government donation, people would have known. Rowley would have boasted about it in the press conference. Dial Singh and his cohorts would have been at PRCO to receive it. There would have been paperwork. There would have been representatives of the United States of America. Watch and see when a real shipment of Pfizer or whatever comes from America. Watch and see how that is handled. And remember, to contrast and compare it to this, and this too little too late, 5-line release that says, yeah, we sent it. I think I'll bring it to a close now. We started at 9 o'clock and it's 10 past 10, 12 past 10. To those of you who are still here or who came late, please remember to like and follow and share. Like the page, that's the little thumbs up on the page that you're on, the Philip Edward Alexander page. Click like. Find the word follow and click follow. It gives you an option to click follow and it gives you a tick. That gives you notifications every time we're live or we put out a post. And share it with everybody. We need to get this page's numbers as high as the other pages quick. And we got that page to 100,000 in 3 months. So that's the goal. Three months or less, 100,000 follows on this page, so that we could, because once we have 100,000 and we put out a live video, that 100,000 gets it out to 1 million people real fast, because people share and send things virally. Our last 28 days on our current page, we did 2.2 million views. That tells you everything you need to know. Also, don't forget the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. It is gluten-free, low-fat. No. We are an activist organization set up to protect our members from public and private sector abuse. We are open to all citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of race, color, creed, class, who you're praying to, who you're lying down with at night, which political party you're a member of. None of those things matter to us. We are a collection of citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We also represent people who are not citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago but live here, and we also represent citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who don't live here but are abroad and would like to join. So basically, once you're eating Callaloo or you have eaten Callaloo in your life, you could join. All right? The Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago offers the business community a chance to target, not even a chance, an opportunity to target your business directly. Like Avinash tonight, and Avinash, he didn't give me a number, but Avinash drove from New Grant in Princestown today to bring 3 rotis for me. What people in the West would call 3 roti skin, because it's just the skin, not the insides, right? He brought the rotis for me. We would call them roti skins. If I say roti, you think it had potato and chana in it. It was just the skins. But then people who want to pretend that they're more roti than everybody else, they have no such thing as a skin. But all I know what we're saying when we're talking. Anyway, Avinash brought that, and he drove from New Grant to bring those 3 roti skins for me, so that I could taste them, because he wants an endorsement. And he says to me that his mother makes the best roti skins in Trinidad, and that's her business, and that if Philip Edward Alexander likes her roti skin and gives her an endorsement, her business will take off. So I promise you, Avinash from New Grant, because I know if I say a name and I say where you're from, all the people in the community that you're dealing with and around you know who I'm talking to. Avinash, please, don't forget to send me a WhatsApp with all of your contact information, your mommy's name and the name of the business and the number. And we do that for free. All it took was 3 roti skins and, well, a drive from South. But we want to see your business survive, prosper, and thrive. And we want to help you deal directly with our tens of thousands of members. You All you need to do is get in touch with Felicia Holder at 769-4590 or Joseph Rich Paul, and I should have Joseph's number offhand, but I don't. But if you give me a minute, I'll get it. And Joseph Rich Paul, 463-6946. Contact Joseph if you'd like to join the Citizens Union. The Citizens Union members have a website. They get a newsletter, and in that newsletter it tells them right now we have a couple thousand businesses that are offering deals and discounts. We have a whole health center that giving free tests to all new members, and Felicia will tell you what those tests are, because for the life of me I can't remember what it is. We have Darren's Air Conditioning. If you call Darren's to come and fix your air conditioner, as soon as the market open back up, you get the best service for the best price. You save you a lot of money because he'll fix things instead of changing out your whole air conditions. We work with Trissa Hydro Farm, who don't want no more advertising, and I'm saying this again, that he's created a whole business. Wayne Ram, they've created a whole business model that others are now emulating. He just, every couple of weeks, he comes to you with what he calls a salad bag, and it's pak choy and kale and butter lettuce and tomatoes and cherry tomatoes and chive and pimentos and a whole garbage bag full of greens, and it's $100. And he delivering it home by you. And I see other people trying to do that now with vegetable bag and thing. That's a bad business. And if you are in that business and you would like us to help you, get in touch with me. My number is 682-2110. You could WhatsApp me. Please don't just call me out of the blue. Do not call me if you're one of the conspiracy theorists who think that the planet judge is coming. I am out of that conversation. I am blooming where I'm planted, and I'm working where I can make a difference. I cannot fight Bill Gates, and I cannot fight what's going on in the world. But I can fight in my country so that my people and my loved ones and my friends and my family could live in a country where all the people of Trinidad and Tobago could have a good and decent life. And that's all I want, and that's all we should want. And if enough of us want that together, we could fix this place forever. Trinidad and Tobago is the most blessed country on planet Earth. We don't have snow, and for Trinis who want snow, go somewhere that have snow and experience it. Nobody needs snow. Nobody. We have snow cone. But Trinidad is the best country in the world to live. Our only problem is political greed, political tribalism, white-collar criminality. And those things could all be fixed by fixing who you send to the parliament. You want a better country, you're going to have to vote for it. Before we even get there, we need to stand together and make it a possibility. But I think that looking at and seeing this press conference here, the journalists who were present, and I know that they're handpicking journalists to try and make sure they pre-screen their questions, and they're trying to pick people that they think friendly to them. And these journalists, this last Saturday here, I was very proud of them. The journalists from last week, Saturday as well. And I think that Urvashi Tiwari from TV6, who, that small and petite frame of a woman, I'm sure her husband must look at her differently now. She stood up in one of those press conferences and put the press in the press conference and pressed Minister of Health for an answer. And I think that she changed the way that the journalists are operating. I want to tell Urvashi, she has my forever respect. Jehul Brown is the next guy. He is so level and middle of the road, and he's been doing this for donkey years. And I'm not putting them on blast. But the three journalists who was there this week, they did such a good job that it is giving me new hope. Even though the media might be owned by conglomerates and corporate Trinidad and Tobago, is showing that we still do have among us good journalists who are willing to seek the interests of the people. And that's a fantastic, fantastic thing. It doesn't make it. We've put aside words like ethics and character and morals and ascribed to greed and possession and wealth. And we found that people who got all of that still were living miserable lives. They were living air-conditioned miserable lives. Instead of eating corned beef, they eating caviar, but they still were miserable and they're not happy. And I think that the human condition cannot be denied. You cannot lie, you cannot hide from it. And yes, a human lifespan is short and you could fool yourself for a lot of it. But you pass on your misery to your children. And that is why so many wealthy people have children who are drug addicts and alcoholics and who commit suicide and who go on to lives of manic, depressive dysfunction, bipolar, mental illness. Because the things that are important to human beings, money cannot buy. And that sounds like a cliche and it sounds like a platitude. But there was a time in my life that I drove the best and I wore the best and I had the brands. I had the first Razor telephone. Now I'm showing my age. But I had the first Razor in Trinidad. And it came out of a black Razor. I had the first black Razor. I was like that. I had to have the best and I had to have it all the time. And it wasn't making me happy. And I had to lose everything to learn what really matters. And that's why I still do these things, you know. Because I have such a burning sense of public service now, and I don't ever need to be paid for it. I just want a better country for my family. I get satisfaction from that. And I get satisfaction from people telling me that I made a difference in their lives and that I made a difference for their family. I'm giving them hope. There's a gentleman, his name is Peter Tinto, I think his name is. I'll just tell you now, because he sends me messages. Terry Pinto. Terry Pinto, he says he's 83 and he is a musician and you could look him up on YouTube. He said he has the closest voice in the world to Frank Sinatra. He called me, he tracked me down and he doesn't have social media. So he says he looks at me on his friend's phone. Now when I say friend, I know it had to be a woman. And the woman, I spoke to her eventually and she said to me that he is my biggest fan now. And I mean, I beyond fandom and I beyond likes and shares and all of that now. That no longer matters to me. In the beginning, 20 years ago, yeah, that mattered. Hey, you're somebody. What matters to me is that somebody like him or the lady who comes to visit her aging mother on the compound where I live, who tells me that her husband don't miss and you would consider them 1%, and she said he don't miss a show. He don't miss a show at all. And they have places I go. I went to a gas station just the other day and the gas station owner came out to talk to me while the taxi driver whose car was on the other side of the pump wanted to come over and talk to me. And if what I am doing is giving people hope, that's all I need. I don't need no office and I don't need no money. And I'm not running down either of those things. These fights that I fight, I hope that it encourages others and it empowers others and it inspires others to stand up for the red, white, and black, to put aside racism. It's not helping us. Racism never helped Mova, Beetham, Lavantil, Sealots, River Estate, Patna, Covin, Mason, Saganga, Big Yard, Abbey Pujad, Scorpion, Point Kumana, Caranage, Never Dirty, Belmont, Gonzales, Cocorit, Waterhole, Arden Place. Those places that are PNM, those places I just called bagatelle, die hard, dying hard, living hard. The people of Sealots have been abused by 58 years of PNM representation. The people of Beetham. And when you listen to people inside the PNM, talk about the people who live in those communities, the contempt and hate they express for them and their condition. He said, small islanders, Eric bring them from Antigua. They're still here. They're still here. Until we get a government that will stop blaming people for their condition, even their ignorance, you have a duty and a responsibility to get beyond people's inabilities. And they never have to see you and understand you and thank you. I work for people. People tell me that all the time. You giving hampers for people who will never vote for you. Okay, fine. I don't want to vote anymore. I tell people, say, well, you running for office? Nope. Nope. So you don't owe me a vote, and you can't withhold your vote because I don't want votes. What I hope is out of the 50 people that I give a hamper to or that I do something for, that one person come out of that and becomes a positive ripple, and I see them. On my Facebook, I see people doing lives. This the silver boy, this fella opinion box. I see people, this lady from Tobago. I see people standing up now. They're just standing up, and it reminds me of that meme about all of us lying down with all of us bending down, kneeling down with the fellow with the whip, and then one of us stands up, and then more of us stands up, and when enough of us standing up, the guy with the whip will be the one kneeling. I bet Trinidad and Tobago, we are good and decent people. We are low. Trinidadians, for the most part, are not racist. Trinidadians live with each other. Red, white, black, green, normal. I think the thing that real mash we up is that oil money and the greed that came with it. And well, the drug traffickers and that, because Trinidad was willing to prostitute itself to facilitate the flow of drugs to America, to make some people rich. So that they could tell the children, your daddy's stupid, but he rich, so like him anyway. We're supposed to make sure that by our existence, the country that we leave for our children is better, not worse. And if you've made such a mess of your country that you have to fly your children out of here and have them live in a next man land, you failed. No matter what they tell you, you failed. Our responsibility to the next generation is to leave Trinidad better than we met it. And I've been working hard to do that myself. If you're new to this page, please go and like, go and follow, and share. Together, we could change the conversation. We changed it today. Today we had people fighting to put out releases to make sense of the madness that took place in Piarco last night. We'll do more of that. Strengthen numbers. Join the Citizens Union. It is very simple to join. citizensuniontt.org, citizensuniontt.com. You could call or WhatsApp 486-2888, 471-2888. Both of those is 486-CUT, 471-CUTT. And come on board and get involved, and let's work together and build back a better nation together. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Trinidad.